having debuted in an extremely successful act, and in some cases, even managing to be the most famous name out of all members. Some idols here are still accused of having an extreme jealousy towards their groupmates. Of course, no official statements were made about these allegations, but according to netizens, there is still solid proof proving the jealousy of these idols when seeing their peers outshine them at certain points. Number 1. Jennie said to be jealous of Jisoo during Pink Venom promotion. Needless to say, this comeback has taken the whole world by storm, for not only the nostalgic old school vibe and the elevated visual of the girls, but also the ultra heat created by Jisoo. On Blackpink's official Instagram account, only her individual photo reached over 2.6 million likes in the second teaser. On YouTube, Jisoo's video teaser also received the most likes out of the 4, and she has literally been trending everywhere since the very beginning of this comeback. However, do you know what shook people even more? Statistically speaking, netizens found that Jennie has been the least cared about member in this comeback, because in both teaser releases as well as the official promotion, her photos and videos received the least likes. She was only trended for wearing the NU crop top in the old school rap verse, and that's that. This struck netizens' curiosity about how Jennie, a member used to garnering all the attention in all previous promotions, would react, and according to some, Jennie was said to be quite salty of Jisoo, as she posted only her video teasers on Instagram, while the other members all uploaded the group's teaser on their personal accounts. As netizens believe there was no better reason to explain this than Jennie's being jealous over Jisoo for her reputation falling flat while Jisoo was on top, a massive wave of criticism struck Jennie. People, most of which were Jisoo's Akye fans, flooded into Jennie's personal account and left hateful comments. They said Jennie finally had shown her true colors and exposed the mean, selfish, and narcissistic personality. She was also accused of the apparently jealous behavior, and having done such a mean action out of the fear that Jisoo would outsell her. Many straight up said, Blackpink would be better without you, putting vomiting, sickening, sneak, knife, and poop emojis under Jennie's post, and at a certain point, even asked her to stay away from Taehyung, though the dating news was never confirmed. Fortunately, there were lots of people who found these reactions ridiculous and stood up for Jennie. They claimed that some haters obviously turned this kind of thing out of proportion on purpose because they couldn't find anything else to bash Jennie for. Plus, the hate was also nonsense because it wasn't that Jennie didn't post the group teaser. She just simply put it up later than the other members. One more thing legit Blinks noticed about this hate bandwagon was that, seemingly, Delulus of BTS's V also took this opportunity to drag down Jennie because they were jealous over her dating news with their idol, which explicitly destroyed their fantasy to live happily forever after with him. Basically, connecting all the dots together, many said the hate aimed at Jennie was merely the result of Akye fans being out of their mind. However, as Jennie has been constantly involved in nonsense criticism, and that potentially still broke her heart, they still reminded her that real Blinks have always been on her side, and hoped she could ignore the baseless hate. Number 2. Luna's Kim Lip said to be jealous of Vivi. Most recently, when Luna went to the States for their concert, the group encountered an awkward situation where Kim Lip suddenly walked off the stage mid-concert. According to some, her action was simply the aftermath of rude orbits in Chicago. But when flipping the coin, some said it was Kim Lip who was being jealous of Vivi, rude to fans, and unprofessional in her work. So how can such a counterintuitive thing happen? And how can people digest the same action in two completely different ways? Well, let's look at how it started first. When Luna's concert had proceeded halfway, the members set aside some minutes to thank Orbits for coming and expressed how they were feeling. Seemingly, the crowd especially loved Vivi, so after she finished her speech, everyone non-stop chanted her name. They didn't even stop when it was the next member's turn to speak, who was Kim Lip to be exact. So Vivi had to interfere and ask them to calm down. Kim Lip was also seen trying to speak up, but to their very surprise, the crowd just laughed as if it was something hilarious.
Here's the song from the most... Now is Kim Lip. Nice. Please.
Seemingly being hurt too badly, Kim Lip turned around and walked off the stage. Some said they saw tears in her eyes. And since she also missed 3 performances afterward, some said those brainless fans should have shut their mouth for the sake of everyone's happiness. However, there were contrasting opinions, saying that although Chicago fans were indeed rude, Kim Lip was actually ruder for poorly handling the situation. In fact, she was even said to unnecessarily blow things out of proportion since it was natural for fans to get overly excited when seeing their bias in person. And Kim Lip, as an idol herself, should have known that better than anyone else. Or some claim that she probably knew such a thing was normal, but because of the inherent jealousy towards Vivi, Kim Lip found it unbearable to see her peer being showered in compliments while she was neglected. According to the majority, the latter case sounded more reasonable since Kim Lip has been through thousands of showcases, and she should have gotten used to how fans could keep chanting one member's name non-stop. Another small detail signaling her passive-aggressive attitude to Vivi was said to be that she saltily bit her lips while looking to the side, a very common sign seen in people trying to express their displeasure and wanting everyone to see it. Plus, many pointed out that, had it not been for her jealousy toward Vivi, the situation could have been handled professionally, like the way Chewie dealt with the same problem years ago, when some Jonghyun's Ake fans told her to shut up during a fan sign. As instead of getting angry and leaving, she just backed down and calmly asked Jonghyun to continue her speech. However, some still sided with Kim Lip, accusing Chicago fans of being brainless and childish. The action of putting their bias up at the expense of others' feelings has never been righteous. And had people been put in the same situation as Kim Lip, probably they would have reacted the same because the embarrassment was too big. Imagine suddenly being humiliated and looked down on in front of thousands of people. Can anyone ever put up with that? The fact that Kim Lip was even criticized for walking off the stage also terrified fans because they had never predicted netizens could be this malicious. The whole incident seemed like the world was against Kim Lip, as if she stayed on stage, she would have been humiliated and made fun of, but if she left the stage, she would become a selfish and envious person. These Ake fans really didn't leave her any way out. Number 3. G-idol Shuhua said to be jealous of Miyeon. Coming back with Tomboy, G-idol immediately took the world by storm for the powerful concept. However, amid the massive wave of compliments, there was still one thing ticking people off: the alleged jealousy of Shuhua toward Miyeon. Things started when G-idol played a game to pick the member appearing on the thumbnail. According to the rule, the one who could stack up most snacks on one finger would win. And when it was Miyeon's turn, Shuhua was seen pouting, pointing fingers, shaking her head, and putting on an annoyed face. Her alleged jealousy was said to show even more clearly when Miyeon was announced to be the winner, as Shuhua immediately reacted, put her hands up, and said Miyeon had already been on the thumbnail once. She even leaned onto the table to remind other members they had promised her a thumbnail for that day, and kept disregarding the final result of the game. However, there were still defending opinions, though everything on the video seemed to be as clear as black and white. According to many people, Shuhua trying to steal the thumbnail of Miyeon out of jealousy was actually an inside joke among the members and their fandom, since the Hua era. Besides, netizens were said to be ridiculous here because, even to non-fans, Shuhua's action obviously looked like how friends would tease each other for fun, and because of the fact that no idols would really fight over a thumbnail. Reactions of international fans toward articles accusing Shuhua of being jealous of Miyeon was also fiercely criticized. They said that those who could write such articles must have been idiots desperate for money, and throughout their life, such articles were the dumbest ones they had ever read. Number 4. AOA's Chanmi, Hyejung, and Mina jealous of Seolhyun. Back when AOA was still active, netizens kept noticing that Chanmi had always been so jealous of Seolhyun that she couldn't even contain herself when the camera was still rolling. Of course, this was predictable to a certain extent, but people could only tell for sure that Chanmi was super duper envious of Seolhyun when AOA appeared on Knowing Bros, and she straight up said, "My goal is to be more popular than Seolhyun." Reacting to the video, everyone also found Hyejung and Mina just as empty-headed for being apparently jealous of Seolhyun. As one netizen commented, Seolhyun has always divided her income with the members, and had it not been for her, the 3 years of AOA's failing to get paid would have extended to infinity. Through the way Chanmin talked, the way Mina low-key showed her agreement, and the way Hyejung poorly managed her facial expression, some could already tell the future of AOA would soon end in disaster, as everything they acted seemed to have a thorn of jealousy stuck in it. Still, the criticism aimed at Chanmi was greatest, and in the comment section, people kept calling her up for being both untalented and greedy to someone who had helped her put food on the table. While this was the only time she was said to clearly show the malicious envy, many said they had noticed Chanmi's attempt to get under Seolhyun's skin countless times, and it almost looked like it was Chanmi's concept to rag on Seolhyun. Those who didn't like Seolhyun even had to feel bad for her after the episode because she was literally working around the clock, yet still couldn't afford a house and earned the slightest gratitude from other members. Very different from the previous cases, there were very few defending reasons for Chanmi, and almost everyone sided with Seolhyun and protected her. However, to be fair, they may not realize or refuse to accept that it's just a harmless joke. And most likely, Chanmi was just implicitly implying that she wanted to take Seolhyun as her role model. So, do you think these idols are actually jealous of their peers? Or are netizens just overreacting? Comment down below to share your thoughts with us. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to BeBoss TV for more great content. Thank you for watching.